My parents barked. Your sister would never treat us this way. After I refused to let them move into my place, I pointed at their suitcases and shot back. Looks like she already has. That's why you showed up here instead. I'm 32 years old, financially stable, and honestly, I was living a pretty peaceful life. That is, until my parents decided I was their personal ATM, their golden ticket to an early, expense-free retirement. Let me paint a picture of the people I grew up with. My mom. Oh, she's the queen of entitlement. She genuinely believes giving birth to me was the greatest investment of her life, and that someday I'd be cashing out directly into her bank account. And my dad? He's just along for the ride. If my mom says something, he nods. His entire decision-making process consists of 3 simple steps. Ask my mom, do exactly what she says, then pretend it was his brilliant idea all along. Then there's Emily, my older sister, the undisputed golden child. If favoritism had a face, it would be hers, probably on a gold-framed portrait hung above my parents' fireplace. Emily never had to work for anything. If she wanted it, it magically appeared. Meanwhile, I was out here hustling, earning my own money at 16, while my parents conveniently found excuses for why they couldn't help me with, well, anything. So, a few months ago, my phone rang. It was my mom. That alone was suspicious, because she only ever calls when she wants something. I picked up, and the first words out of her mouth were, "How's my favorite son?" Immediately, my stomach dropped. "Mom," I said, "I'm your only son." She laughed, a forced, tinkling sound, like I'd just delivered the world's funniest joke. "That's why we need to have a little talk," she cooed. "Your father and I are getting older, and we're thinking it's time to retire. You know, settle down, enjoy life a little." I played along. "That's great, Mom. Good for you." Then she dropped the bomb. "We were thinking you could help us out, financially." For a second, I thought I misheard her. I asked her to repeat it, and she did, her voice laced with the conviction that this was the most natural thing in the world. "Mom," I said, "you're both 55. That's when my dad piped up, suddenly finding his voice. "We've worked hard our whole lives, son, and now it's your turn to take care of us. Family takes care of each other." That line, that magical, infuriating phrase. The same family that forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. A thought sparked in my mind. "Have you talked to Emily about this?" The second her name left my lips, my mom's tone changed. Sharp, defensive. "Emily has her own life to live," she snapped. "She's busy, and unlike you, she has responsibilities." I blinked, trying to process this alternate reality. Emily, who has never held a real job, has responsibilities. Meanwhile, I run my own business, pay all my own bills, and somehow, I'm the one with extra money. I took a deep, steadying breath. "No," I said, my voice firm. Silence. It was deafening. Then my mom's voice, now truly sharp, cut through it. "Excuse me." I said it again, louder this time. "No, I am not paying for your retirement. You had decades to save money, but instead, you spent it all on Emily, covering for her bad decisions. That is not my problem." And that's when my mom absolutely lost it. She started screaming about how ungrateful I was, how they'd sacrificed so much for me, how I wouldn't be where I was without them. My dad chimed in, parrot-like. "We gave you everything. Name one sacrifice." I challenged them. "Just one." My mom sputtered, speechless for a moment, before finally shrieking, "Emily would never abandon us like this." And that's when I started laughing. A bitter, hollow laugh. Because I knew something they didn't. Emily doesn't care about them. She won't help them. She never has, and she never will. I hung up. A few months passed. My life, for the most part, was good. I thought the whole nightmare was over. Then, one night, there was a knock at my door. I opened it, and there they were, standing on my porch, suitcases in hand. Their entitled smiles faded the moment they saw my face. My mom cleared her throat. "We need to talk," she said. I crossed my arms. "No, we really don't." But they were already stepping forward, as if it was a given I'd let them in. And that's when it hit me. They didn't just want money. They wanted to move in. I didn't step aside. I didn't invite them in. Instead, I stood my ground, arms crossed, staring at the 2 people who used to be my parents before they decided I was their personal ATM. My mom, of course, was the first to break the awkward, tense silence. She put on that fake, sweet voice she always used when she wanted something from me. "We were just in the neighborhood," she chirped, as if she'd just happened to be dragging 2 giant suitcases down my street. My dad nodded along, clearly following a script they'd rehearsed in the car. And well, we figured we'd stop by for a little visit. I glanced pointedly at their luggage. You usually bring a full wardrobe for your little visits? My mom's smile twitched. That's actually what we need to talk about. I already knew where this was going, but I let her continue. She sighed dramatically, as if she were carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Your father and I, we've hit some financial difficulties. We had some unexpected expenses. I cut her off, my voice flat. Emily needed money again, didn't she? Their silence was all the answer I needed. I laughed, a short, humorless sound, shaking my head in disbelief. It's honestly incredible. They spent their whole lives bending over backward for my sister, covering her messes, paying her bills, making excuse after excuse for her. And now, after all that, here they were, broke, practically homeless, standing on my doorstep, expecting me to clean up their mess. My dad cleared his throat, trying to regain some semblance of control. Look, son, let's not make this about Emily. This is about family. We need a place to stay for a little while, just until we get back on our feet. I raised an eyebrow. Define a little while. My mom waved a dismissive hand. Oh, a few months, maybe a year. I nearly choked. A year? I took a step back, still blocking the doorway. No. My mom's face hardened. What do you mean, no? I mean exactly what I said. I replied, my voice steady. No. They made their choices. They spent their money. They refused to hold Emily accountable for anything. And now that it's come back to bite them, they want to dump the consequences on me? Not happening. My mom's fake patience shattered. Her voice went shrill. So, you're just going to abandon us? Your own parents? I stared her down. Like how you abandoned me every time Emily needed something? That one landed. My mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish, gasping for air. My dad tried a different tactic. He sighed heavily, shaking his head, trying to make me feel guilty. We raised you better than this. I let out a short, bitter laugh. No, you didn't. And that's when the explosion happened. My mom screamed, full volume, a banshee-level screeching. You ungrateful little brat. After everything we did for you. We fed you. We clothed you. She was so loud that a porch light flicked on across the street. A neighbor peeked out their window. And that's when I got an idea. A truly evil idea. I took a step back, not to let them in, but to reach for my phone. I unlocked it, tapped the screen a few times, and held it up. Keep going, I said, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. This is great footage. My mom froze mid-rant. My dad stiffened. I smiled wider. I think I'll send this to Emily. Let's see what she thinks about your little visit. And that's when everything changed. For the first time since they showed up, my parents actually looked nervous. My mom's eyes darted between me and my phone. You wouldn't? I smirked. Why not? You said Emily would never abandon you. I'm sure she'd love to hear about this. Maybe she'll even invite you to stay with her. Silence. Thick, suffocating silence. My dad shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. My mom's jaw clenched so tight I thought she might break a tooth. And that's when I realized. They had already tried. Emily must have turned them down. The golden child, their perfect daughter, the one they had spent their entire lives worshipping. She must have slammed the door in their faces, left them out in the cold. Suddenly, I was plan B. My smirk widened. Oh my God, I whispered, the realization hitting me like a wave. She did turn you away, didn't she? My mom's face went crimson. That's none of your business. I laughed. I actually doubled over laughing, because this was just too good. So, let me get this straight. You spent decades bending over backward for Emily, treating her like a queen, cleaning up every single mess she made. You ignored me, made it clear I was an afterthought. And now, the second you need actual help, she doesn't even pick up the phone. My mom glared at me, nostrils flaring. You don't understand. I wiped a fake tear from my eye. No, Mom, I understand perfectly. You bet everything on the wrong horse, and now you want me to fix it. I gestured toward the sidewalk. Get off my porch. My dad finally spoke up again, his voice desperate. We have nowhere else to go. I shrugged. Not my problem. My mom let out a shaky breath, clearly trying to hold back another outburst. Then she tried one last card. The guilt trip. Her voice softened, a sickeningly sweet tone. Honey, we're your parents. We're family. I tilted my head. Funny how you only remember that when you need something. Her expression twisted into something ugly. You'll regret this one day. You'll be old too, and no one will take care of you. I smiled. I'm planning ahead, unlike you. My mom looked like she was about to throw another fit, but my dad put a hand on her arm. He'd given up. He knew there was no winning this. They turned, dragging their suitcases behind them. And as they disappeared into the night, I couldn't help but wonder where they would go now. Because Emily sure as heck wouldn't open her door for them. But me? I was going to sleep like a baby. I watched them stumble off my porch, dragging their heavy suitcases behind them like the weight of every bad decision they'd ever made. The streetlight cast long shadows as they shuffled toward the sidewalk, my mom muttering angrily under her breath, while my dad trudged silently beside her. I should have gone inside. I should have closed the door and been done with it, but I didn't. I stood there, arms crossed, watching them struggle, because for the first time in my life, they were the ones who had to deal with the consequences of their own actions. And darn it, it felt good. My mom suddenly stopped in her tracks. She whirled around, her face twisted in rage. You owe us. We gave you everything. I leaned against the door frame, unfazed. Everything? You gave everything to Emily. I just got whatever crumbs were left over. She scoffed. That's not true. I laughed a bitter, humorless laugh. Oh, really? Let me do a little math, shall we? I held up a finger. How much did you pay for Emily's college? Silence. I held up a second finger. How much did you give Emily when she couldn't afford rent because she blew all her money on some business venture that flopped in 2 months? Still nothing. I held up a third. How many times did you bail her out when she maxed out her credit cards? When she crashed her car? When she called you crying because she didn't know where all her money went? My mom's face was getting redder and redder. I held up a fourth finger. And now tell me, exactly how much did you give me when I asked for help with my own college tuition? Oh, wait, I remember. You told me to figure it out myself, because Emily needed it more. My mom glared at me, seething, but she didn't deny it. She couldn't deny it because it was the truth. My dad shifted uncomfortably, probably wishing he could melt into the pavement. You chose her every time. I continued, my voice laced with disgust. And now she doesn't even pick up the darn phone when you need help. That's not my fault. That's yours. My mom was shaking with fury. We did what was best for our family. I narrowed my eyes. No, Mom, you did what was best for Emily. She let out a strangled sound, like she was about to explode again, but my dad suddenly grabbed her arm and muttered something too low for me to hear. He was done. He just wanted to leave. She yanked her arm away, but after a moment, she turned and stormed off, dragging her suitcase like it had personally insulted her. My dad followed, shoulders slumped, and soon enough, they disappeared around the corner. I let out a breath I didn't even realize I had been holding. For the first time in years, I felt free. No more guilt. No more expectations. No more being the backup plan. I stepped back inside and locked the door. But just as I turned away, my phone buzzed in my hand. A text from Emily. And when I opened it, my stomach dropped. Mom just called me. She's furious. She says you humiliated them and left them on the street. But don't worry. I have an idea. An idea? I stared at the message, a strange mix of amusement and dread creeping in. What was she up to now? That's never good. Emily's ideas usually mean trouble for everyone but her. Before I could even type a response, my phone buzzed again. Call me. We need to talk. I rolled my eyes. Of course, because why send a text when she could talk over me instead? Still, I couldn't help but be curious. I sighed, pressed call, and put the phone to my ear. She picked up immediately. Wow, she said, her voice dripping with mock surprise. So, you actually kicked Mom and Dad out. That's kind of brutal, don't you think? I scoffed. Oh, don't start. They showed up at my door demanding I take care of them. What was I supposed to do? Emily sighed dramatically, like she was already exhausted by this conversation. I don't know. Maybe not throw our parents onto the street. That seems like a solid option. My grip tightened around the phone. Funny. You weren't so concerned when you turned them away. Silence. I smirked. Yeah, they didn't tell me. But I figured it out. You were their first choice, weren't you? They went crawling to you first, and you shut the door in their faces. And now you're mad that I did the same thing. Emily let out a little laugh, but there was an edge to it. Oh, come on. You know how it is. I have things going on. A social life, a career, responsibilities. I can't just drop everything to babysit two boomers who can't handle their money. I raised an eyebrow. And I can. There was a pause. Then she sighed, as if I was being unreasonable. I mean, yeah, you've always been the responsible one. The one who's like, good at dealing with this kind of stuff. You're independent, smart. You actually plan ahead. You can handle this. I nearly laughed out loud. So, let me get this straight. You got to be the reckless, spoiled one for your entire life. And now that our parents need help, you just assume I should deal with it because I was forced to be the responsible one. Emily hummed thoughtfully. I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. I shook my head, stunned. Wow, you really don't even try to hide it, do you? She giggled. Why would I? It's just the natural order of things. I mean, come on. They love me. Always have. You know that. They were never going to ask me to do the hard stuff. That's what you're for. My jaw clenched. Then why are you even calling me? She clicked her tongue. Because you're being ridiculous. Look, I get it. You're mad. You want to make a point, but be honest. Don't you feel even a little bad leaving them out there like that? They're old. They're stressed. They're family. And let's be real, you can totally afford to let them stay for a while. Your place is way bigger than mine. You have the space. I let out a slow breath. You know what's funny, Emily? If they had just asked me for help, if they had come to me like normal human beings instead of demanding it and guilt-tripping me, I might have actually considered it. But they didn't. And now here you are, acting like I'm some kind of villain for refusing to clean up your mess. Emily sighed, like I was a child who just didn't get it. Look, I know they can be a bit much, but they are our parents, and one day you're going to regret treating them like this. I shook my head. No, Emily. They're going to regret treating me like this. Emily was quiet for a moment. Then she let out a soft, amused chuckle. You're really not going to budge on this, huh? Not even a little. Not even a little, I responded. Wow, cold, she said. I told her, you would know. She snickered. Okay, fine. Have it your way. But don't say I didn't warn you. Warn me. I frowned. Warn me about what? But she'd already hung up. I stared at my phone, a strange sense of unease creeping in, because if I know Emily, she's not the type to just let things go. And something told me she was about to make this way worse. The uneasy feeling settled in my stomach like a rock. I knew Emily too well. That wasn't a conversation. It was a warning, a threat wrapped in a sugar-coated giggle. And the worst part? I didn't even have to wait long to find out what she meant. 2 days later, my doorbell rang. I sighed, already exhausted before I even got up from the couch. I didn't have to look. I knew who it was. I pulled open the door, and there they were, my parents again. But this time, they weren't just standing there like lost, confused victims. No, this time they looked confident. Smug, even. Like they knew something I didn't. I crossed my arms. No. Whatever you're about to say, the answer is no. My mom let out a dramatic sigh, clutching her chest like I'd just shot her. Do you hear how you speak to us? To your own parents? After everything we've done for you. I didn't take the bait. Cut to the chase. Why are you here? My dad stepped forward, arms crossed. We talked to Emily. Of course they did, I deadpanned silently. And she told us everything. My mom said, shaking her head in manufactured disappointment. How you've been selfish. How you've always resented us. How you turned your back on family just because you finally got a little money in your pocket. I snorted. Selfish? That's rich coming from the two people who demanded I fund their retirement while treating me like a second-class citizen compared to Emily. My dad's jaw tightened. This isn't about Emily, son. Isn't it? I cut him off. Because you didn't demand she take care of you. You didn't scream at her about family obligations. She told you no, and you just accepted it. But when I say no, suddenly, I'm the worst child in the world. My mother shook her head. She has a different life, sweetie. You know that. She's not as stable as you. I laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, you mean because I'm responsible? Because I didn't party away my 20s or hop from job to job with no plan. That's my reward? Getting saddled with your problems while she gets to live stress-free. My dad huffed. You're being dramatic. Oh, I'm being dramatic? I shook my head, fighting back the urge to slam the door in their faces. Let me guess. Emily told you that I owe you, that I'm cruel, that I'm ruining our family, right? My mom nodded furiously, like I'd just proven her point. Yes, exactly. She said she was horrified at how you treated us. She said, you're turning into a bitter, greedy person, and you don't even see it. I smiled, slow and cold. Right. And let me guess, she also couldn't take you in herself because she's just not in the right place right now, but she really wishes she could help? My parents glanced at each other, clearly not expecting me to nail it so perfectly. I let out a sharp laugh. Wow, she really played you like a darn fiddle, huh? My dad frowned. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that Emily manipulated you exactly the way she always does. She threw just enough fake sympathy your way to make you think she cares, all while making sure the responsibility still falls entirely on me. My mother crossed her arms, but I saw the hesitation in her eyes. That's not true. Oh, really? I interrupted. So tell me, after she told you how awful I was, what exactly did she offer to do for you? Silence. I nodded. Yeah, that's what I thought. My dad cleared his throat, trying to regain control. That doesn't change the fact that you owe us. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. And now that we need your help, you want to abandon us. I exhaled slowly, clenching my fists. Okay, let's go down that road. Yes, you raised me. You did the bare minimum a parent should do. But you also made it very clear my entire life that Emily was your priority. You gave her the best of everything while I got the scraps. You excused everything she did, no matter how selfish or irresponsible. And now you're shocked that I don't feel the same loyalty to you that she pretends to. My mother scoffed. That's not fair. It's completely fair. I snapped. You taught me my entire life that I wasn't your favorite, that my needs came second, that I was less important than Emily. And now you're demanding I take responsibility for you while she gets to live guilt-free? Absolutely not. You made your bed. Now lie in it. Their faces darkened. I'd hit a nerve. My dad clenched his jaw. You'll regret this. I smiled, sharp and cold. No, you will. I slammed the door in their faces. They pounded on it, screaming at me, but I didn't care. I walked away, heart pounding, adrenaline surging. But then the pounding stopped. Silence. For a split second, I thought they'd finally given up. That maybe, just maybe, they'd realized I was serious. But then bang. I whirled around just in time to see the door shutter in its frame. They were trying to force their way in. Rage boiled up inside me. I marched back to the door, ripped it open, and stared them down. Are you insane? I snapped. You're really about to break my door because I won't let you mooch off me? My mother's eyes were wild, desperate. We have nowhere else to go. What kind of child abandons their parents like this? I held up my phone. The kind who will call the cops if you don't leave in the next 5 seconds. My father sneered. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I pressed the emergency dial button. Say one more word, and we'll find out. The color drained from their faces. For all their entitlement, they knew I wasn't bluffing. My mom glared at me, tears pooling in her eyes. You're a monster. I shrugged. And you're trespassing. Get lost. They stood there fuming, but after a few tense seconds, they finally turned and stomped off. My mother sobbed dramatically. My father muttered under his breath, and I didn't even care anymore. I slammed the door shut this time, for good. And just like that, it was over. No more guilt. No more manipulation. No more being treated like a backup plan while Emily skated by free and clear. They made their choice years ago, and now I'd made mine. After that day, I stopped answering their calls. No texts, no voicemails, just silence. Weeks passed, and I heard nothing from them. I'd like to say it was a complete relief, but a small part of me still felt that familiar pang of guilt, even though I knew deep down I'd made the right choice. Eventually, Emily tried to call me, but I didn't pick up. I knew it would be the same old manipulative spiel. You're breaking mom and dad's hearts. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I didn't want to keep playing this game. I never heard from my parents again. And you know what? I'm okay with that. 6 months have passed since I closed that door for the last time. And surprisingly, the world didn't end. The guilt I carried for years slowly faded, replaced by something I'd never really experienced before: peace. My phone no longer buzzed with demands disguised as family emergencies. My weekends weren't interrupted by guilt trips or lectures about obligation. My bank account stayed exactly where I intended it to, funding my own future instead of cleaning up someone else's mistakes. I finally took the vacation I'd been putting off for years, spending 2 quiet weeks hiking through national parks with no signal and no expectations from anyone. Somewhere between mountain trails and campfires, I realized just how exhausted I'd been from constantly trying to earn love that was never going to be given freely. When I came home, I expanded my business, hired 2 new employees, and even bought the small office building I'd been leasing for years. It felt strange making plans without wondering who would eventually demand a piece of them. A mutual family friend eventually filled me in on what happened after my parents disappeared from my life. Emily, unsurprisingly, never took them in. She kept promising she'd help next month, while somehow always having a reason she couldn't. Eventually, my parents were forced to sell what little they had left and move into a modest apartment several towns away. My dad went back to work part-time after realizing retirement wasn't magically going to pay for itself, while my mom discovered that sympathy doesn't pay rent either. Apparently, they spent months complaining to anyone who would listen about their ungrateful son. But the story stopped working once people started asking why their beloved daughter wasn't helping them instead. Funny how quickly the conversation changed after that. I also heard Emily wasn't doing nearly as well as she'd claimed. The lavish lifestyle she'd always projected had been built almost entirely on borrowed money and my parents' constant financial bailouts. Without them acting as her safety net anymore, reality finally caught up with her. Last I heard, she downsized her apartment, sold her luxury SUV, and was suddenly talking about budgeting like it was some revolutionary concept. I didn't celebrate any of it. I didn't need revenge anymore, because life had already handed everyone exactly what they'd earned. The biggest surprise came from my dad. About a month ago, I received a handwritten letter in the mail. Not asking for money, not demanding forgiveness, just a simple apology. He admitted he'd spent years taking the easy path by agreeing with my mother instead of standing up for me. He didn't ask me to call him or visit. He simply wrote that he finally understood why I walked away, and that if he could change one thing in his life, it would be choosing to be my father instead of just my mother's husband. I read the letter twice before putting it away. I haven't answered it yet. Maybe I never will. Forgiveness isn't something people are owed simply because time has passed. It's something they earn, and sometimes the opportunity to earn it is gone forever. Still, reading those words gave me something I never thought I'd have: closure. Not because everything was fixed, but because I no longer needed it to be. I stopped waiting for my family to become the people I always wished they were. Instead, I built a life surrounded by friends who showed up because they wanted to, not because they expected something in return. Looking back now, refusing to become my parents' retirement plan wasn't the hardest decision I ever made. The hardest part was accepting that saying no didn't make me a bad son. It simply made me someone who finally respected himself. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. So what do you all think? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with family, especially when money or expectations were involved? I'd really love to hear your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done in my situation?